Style me Westcoast Rob, man, and welcome to my podcast, You Bitch. Welcome back to another episode of YeahDat, the podcast hosted by yours truly, the homie Westcoast Rob. Before we get started, first and foremost, the views and opinions you may hear on this episode are just that, the views and opinions of not only myself but my guest. So if you're easily offended, disagree with them, or dislike them, well, there's a simple solution to all that, and that's stop listening. However, if you care to partake in the conversation, then keep tuning in. YeahDat. Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 5 of YeahDat, the podcast, hosted by yours truly, West Coast Roberto, the big homie himself. On today's episode, we have a special guest, man, the big homie, James Mooney, successful entrepreneur, hybrid athlete, overall savage. But before we get into that, we gotta recap episode number 4, which we went over pros and cons of 2020. There are a lot of pros and cons in the year 2020. In episode 4, we recapped a bunch of them. We listed them, from the cons being COVID-19 and shutdowns and all that, to the pros being new hobbies, family bonding, and etc. So if you're eager to hear what the pros and cons and discussions on that topic were, please tune in to episode 4. We also talked about mentality and mental maturity, the ages of mental maturity in regards to men and women, and how they affect you and people, and how they act, and being products of their environment, etc., etc. And we also talked about OnlyFans, man. You know what I'm saying? How OnlyFans is booming. And, I know a lot of people doing OnlyFans. So check out episode 4 on every podcast platform out there. YeahDat. But for episode 5, man, we're going to go. And we have a special guest, like I said, the big homie James Mooney. I've known James for it's going on 4 years now. I met him at my first bodybuilding show back in 2017. And this is actually the first time I've actually spoken to James. We've just been following one another and chopped it up via social media, and we finally got to sit down, chop it up, and James gives advice for those of you out there who are wanting to start your own businesses, trying to be a sponsored athlete. He also gives his points of views in regards to government shutdowns and an abundance of shit. So please tune in. Let me know what you think. Please enjoy episode number 5, and I'll get back with you on the wrap up of this episode. So stay tuned. Next up, my interview with James Mooney, man. YeahDat.
What's up, bro?
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Just chilling, trying to deal with this COVID bullshit, but
Oh, we'll get into that, my man. We'll get into that.
How things with you, man?
Oh, can't complain over here, man.
Yeah.
COVID is booming over here where I am in Texas, but as work-wise, it's no shutdown. We've been working since day 1 of COVID.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's what we need.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
So I just started, actually. I've probably about a month now.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Trying to follow in your footsteps, brother.
Right on. Right
Shit,
on.
man. But appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking the time out and doing the show, man. I truly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm honored. Honored you wanted me to have me on.
Shit, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't I, man? You're a fucking monster, bro. Monster. So if you could give a little introduction of who you are to my listeners, my man.
Right on. So my name is James Mooney. I run a company right now called Blasthouse Industries. It's a performance supplement brand, and we launched at the beginning of COVID, actually in March. And before that, I was running a company called Gunsmith Clothing with my buddy Rob. Not Rob hosting the podcast, but Rob Tremonti.
Big Rob.
Yeah, we did that for several years. Yeah, outside of that, just outside of the business aspect, I just like to train, do different things, compete all across from bodybuilding to powerlifting to strongman. So keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Keeps me busy, keeps me sane.
Hell yeah, man. We're going to go into the whole hybrid tour and all that stuff too, man.
For sure.
So,
yeah, whatever you want to talk about, let's do it.
Right on. So how we do it on here is so I have an array of topics, and then just all I ask from you is to keep it authentic and 100, man, like you always do.
100%.
For sure, So
is swearing all right? I might slip
fuck yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You never know
man.
nowadays, man. Some people look at you weird.
Oh no, hell no, man. I'm an adult, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Right
James, how old are you, man?
I turned 34 last month.
Okay.
So yeah, getting old.
Oh shit. Right on, yeah. I think I wish you happy birthday back then. If not, happy belated.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I got a year on you. I'm 35. I got a year on you.
It's not as bad as people make it out to seem like. My girl makes me feel old as fuck all the time because she's like 4 years younger. So I mean, she's still old too, but like,
yeah,
she makes me feel like this is like the end of the line right here.
No,
like, nah, I'm just getting started.
Yeah, for real, in the prime, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah. The 20s are the time when you fuck around and make all the terrible decisions. And then the 30s when you kind of clear it up a little bit,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My last episode, I touched bases on that, like mental maturity and all that stuff, man. You kind of do all that stuff when you're early 20s and all that, but 30s you're grown.
And everyone always talks about like, you mature so much in your 20s, right? Like, but
yeah.
And I remember people telling me that like, oh man, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're 20. And I was like, nah, man, I know everything. And it's just, you always, regardless of like, the generation that came before you, it's always the same issues, right? Like it never gets cleared up. You're never like, oh yeah, you're right. I don't know everything. I should take a moment and listen to this guy that's older than me. No, you got to figure out on your own.
That's right, man. That's right. Fuck yeah. So for the followers, for those of them who don't know you, man, you're a pretty big guy when it comes to social media, man. You got 31,000 followers. So
something like that. I think it's been going down lately ever since I don't know, with the changes in social media. I've noticed it's kind of decreased a little bit, but I'm okay with that because it's I would talk about that with Rob Tremonti and I. We were talking about that like in the Gunsmith days. Like it's not about the quantity of followers that you have. It's more about the quality, like the engagement. You can have 100,000 followers, but if 99,000 of them don't really give a shit about you or your message, then you really don't have shit,
Hell yeah. And that's along the lines of the question I was going to ask you in regards to following and building it. Is it like, do you really give a fuck if like people are like following and supporting you and shit like that? Or is it just whatever, followers or whatever?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I initially was like super into it, right? Like, that's that mental maturity aspect that you talk about. You know what I mean? Like when you first get going, you're like, man, I want 2 million followers like Bradley Martin, right? Like I want to be that guy. I want to be that dude. But then you realize, like there's benefits to that, and then there's downfalls to that, right? Obviously, the benefit is you get to reach more people with a message, but then you have to have a message that's worth 2 million followers, right? Like you have to have something to offer that. And I think a lot of people, they get caught up in the follower counts, right? Like they want to be Insta famous or, YouTube famous, and they get caught up in that and they fail to realize that like they failed to develop like their own voice, right? They see somebody else doing something and they're like, oh man, that guy has, 2 million followers. I need to start doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so they stop developing themselves and they start trying to copy. And I think that's where we run into an issue, is because you lose that authenticity, you know?
Hell yeah.
You can only fake it for so long before people start realizing that you're full of shit.
Yep. Man, that's crazy that you're saying this shit, because I think my second episode, I touched bases on that whole fucking topic, authenticity and not mimicking people who already made it. Like, you got to be authentic in yourself.
Yeah. And it's tough. It's not like an easy thing to do. I mean, like, I've fallen into that trap too, like, where I'm like, you know what? I need to start getting more engagement. I need to start getting more people involved in this. And I'm going to start doing what, like, this stupid shit, like I started doing a lot of real world tactical style stuff, right? Like, you know, Tony, and he posts all these crazy circuits, and I'm like, yeah, I do that sometimes, but I don't do it as often as you know, he does maybe. But I started posting about those like all the time. Like, I do that every single fucking day. And it's like, that's not who you are, dude. Like, you're just doing this because people like to see that shit, right? Like, that's not that you're compromising what you do on a regular basis simply to get more likes, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, it's a trap that everyone falls into. I mean, I think it's it's one of those things that you have to constantly kind of remind yourself that you don't want to end up like that. Right.
So when it comes to the following, is the content that you post, like, would you consider that shit like your personal shit, or is it like themed for like a specific genre?
I mean, I don't post a ton of like personal stuff like on my feeds, you know what I mean? Like, I try to keep somewhat of a distance there. And I mean, just simply because I am a private person, like, you know, like I'm not super out there. Like, I don't post a shitload about my relationship. Like Christy and I've been together for, you know, almost 8 years. You know, I don't post a lot about that because, you know, that's kind of my stuff. Right. And maybe to an extent that's kind of, you know, limiting growth. Right. Like, people want to see all about you, right? Like, they want like the Kardashian view, where like they get every aspect of your life. Yeah. And
that's not for everybody.
No, it's not for everybody. And I mean, it has to be, you know, natural. And I'm just not naturally a super, you know, like, I keep a lot of shit close to the chest. And so some of that stuff, as cheesy and stupid as it may sound, you know what I mean? Like, I've always been one of those people where it's like, if you have to constantly, you know, show like how much you're in love with somebody, you know, like on social media, like validation through social media, like, you're covering up for something, right? Like, you shouldn't have to need someone else's validation for that. And so I typically I don't post as much personal stuff as I probably should. I try to, lately I've been keeping it more like gym related or business related, but maybe I'll get back into posting more of the personal stuff down the road. I don't know.
No, you're good. If I want to see personal stuff about you, I just go to Chrissy's page.
Right. Yeah. If you want to see what we did for the holiday, you go to her page and you can see.
Yeah. Right. That Oikos commercial thing is funny though, Dad.
No, that's fucked up, man. Don't encourage her.
Shout out, Chrissy. Shout out.
Yeah. But no, that's fucked up. She saw that, like, that commercial aired like a couple years or last year maybe, and she's like immediately like, that's James. And I was like, nah, man, that dude's ugly as fuck.
I saw
no
that
offense
shit.
To that dude.
No, for real. I mean, shout out to the Oikos dude getting his money, you know. But no, it's cool though. In regards to that fucking issue, I agree. When it comes to personal, it's like, you don't have to put it out for everybody to see your shit and be all in your business and know your everyday life. But it is what it is. What you want to put, it's what you want to put on there.
And it comes down to, you know, like what your brand is, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, obviously there's those people on social media that post everything. Like, this is my kid being born right here. You know what I mean? Like, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you want to do that, that's cool. It's just, I tend to steer away from that type of stuff for the most part.
Yeah, it's not your lane.
No, you know, and it doesn't have to be, and it's, you know, maybe I found that people actually do relate more with the personal stuff. Like, Chrissy and I recently got engaged. I posted a photo about that, and
oh shit, congratulations, man!
Yeah, appreciate it. You know, it took long enough, but
yeah, it's all good.
but like, people love that stuff, and obviously I don't know. I've gotten to the point where, you know, social media is fun, it's supposed to be fun. And if once it stops being fun, that's when, you know, you can't continue to force it, just because it like nowadays you have to do business on social media for the most part, but it's like a necessary evil. Like I don't know, I kind of feel burnt out on the whole social media thing. You know, feeling the need to upload content all the time. Yeah, you know, it's tiring. Like I'll do the stories here and there because stories are easy, but like I don't know.
No, I feel you, man. That's just the society nowadays. Like kids aspire to be YouTubers and shit like that nowadays. Not like when we were younger.
Yeah, right. I remember we started doing. I did some workout videos and some vlogs with some buddies back in like 2009, like before YouTube like really popped off. Yeah, and I was like, you know, that was something where it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like this is just we're just fucking around. Like this is like fun for us, but like this is not a career. Yeah. And now it's people like, you know, starting like their 4-year-old off with a YouTube channel, and they're you know, making millions.
Yeah, I know. It's like, damn, where was this back in the day, man?
Yeah, right.
So shit, with social media being the way it is, what are a lot of pros and cons that you see with social media?
I mean, the pro obviously is that you can interact with, you know, people from all over the world that you would never have gotten the opportunity. Like, for example, you and I.
Exactly.
Right? Like we would never have necessarily crossed paths.
Right.
In real world, right? Scenario. But through the magic of social media, you know, you can interact with somebody on the other side of the world and, you know, develop a friendship or a bond, or, you know, or, you know, convert somebody into a customer that would never have been aware of your product before. As far as cons, I feel like the cons almost outweigh the pros, though. Now, especially nowadays, you know, like the last year or so. Like, have you watched that Social Dilemma documentary?
Yeah,
on Netflix.
Of course,
dude, that's fucking mind blowing.
I know. And it makes you not want to even like participate in social media.
100%, dude. I know a bunch of people that actually, you know, deleted their Facebook, or I don't think anybody got rid of their Instagram. I don't know, but I know a bunch of people that deleted their Facebook simply because of that.
Yeah, sketch.
It's super sketch, and it makes you wonder. And along those same lines, it's kind of fucked up. But you know, the problem. I was talking to one of my business partners about this the other day, or yesterday actually, and the problem with social media now is that everyone has a voice, right?
Yep.
But not everyone, and it's going to sound kind of fucked up, but not
everyone deserves one. Yeah.
Not everyone deserves a voice, right? This just because you have a voice doesn't mean that millions of people deserve to or need to hear your opinion about something, right? Because everyone thinks they're an expert on everything else, right? And it's just human nature. You're going to have an opinion, but just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it's right or we need to hear it.
Right.
And that's become a huge thing, right? Especially with like, in terms of like, if we took like simply fitness community related, you know, man, I was on TikTok the other day, and I came across this kid. He's maybe, you know, 16, and he was talking about the difference between, you know, low bar back squat and a high bar back squat. He's basically saying low bar back squat's useless, and he listed off all these reasons. Like, he's like, it's a useless exercise, there's no reason to do it. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, you're 16, man. You've probably been lifting for a year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? Like, here you are influencing, you know, maybe I think you had like 10 or 15,000 followers on TikTok or something, right?
Yeah.
And here you are, you know, preaching out to a bunch of kids that don't know that don't know anything, and you're giving them your opinion, and they're taking that as gospel. And so now we're going to have a whole generation of these kids that think one exercise is completely useless, which is not the case at all, right? So it's just perpetuating like ignorance, you know, across many fields. Like you could take it to politics, you could take it to, you know, race relations, anything, right? Like there's all these opinions going out, and just because you have a platform doesn't mean that you're necessarily worthy of having a platform, if that makes sense.
No, complete sense. I completely agree with that. I believe in all the same shit, man. Like the cons outweigh the pros like exponentially, and it's just, I don't know, in one aspect it's sad, and then in the other it's kind of like it is what it is.
Yeah, there's no putting that back in the box kind of thing, right? Like it's out there. We have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's sad to think about it because like I think about like when I first started like posting stuff on like MySpace, right? Like MySpace back in the day, right? Like dating myself right now, but back in MySpace, like I was stoked. MySpace was awesome. It was the best way. I could slide in the DMs of some girl that went to a high school across town that I never maybe had the chance to.
Yeah.
Right? And it was fun. Like social media was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays it's not as fun, right? There's so much toxic stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's sad to think about because it's like, when did that happen? When did that transition happen from like, this is a fun thing where you could just post stupid shit and like not care what happened. And now all of a sudden you have to, everything has to be perfect, right? You have to have a high quality photo. It has to be like filtered, and like you have to have a good caption, and you can't say anything politically incorrect or, or you'll get canceled, or fucking somebody will make a YouTube video about you and just destroy you.
Yeah.
Get you blackballed in the world.
Yeah, man, just the thought of that is just making me angry. Not want to get on anymore.
Yeah, it's like we need to make social media fun again, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I had one of my boys on, and he was talking about that, how his page is his page, and he actually brought up it should be fun. It should be what you want to post, and so that's what he does. And I'm optimistic to it too, and that's what I try to do also, man.
Yeah, I mean, I try to. I think that's part of what has made me burn out, right? Like, because especially with the likes and the analytics and stuff, you'll see something, and obviously I run a business, so analytics are pretty important to me. So I'll post something that like I think is fun, right? And like it doesn't get any interaction. I'm like, well, shit. Now I don't want it to, but it will. It subconsciously influences what you post, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I'm not going to post anything like that ever again,
right?
Like, so you start creating and catering your content to it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I don't post as much, right? Like I'll post like one or two things a week, maybe on my main page.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll post daily on my story because that doesn't matter, because that disappears. Like if somebody doesn't like it, I don't see it, right? Like I don't see that they don't like it, and I don't really care about that. But if it's on the main page, it's I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, man. As long as you're just focusing on like the pros you can get out of it, like marketing your brand and doing what you want, then that's cool. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I almost think that like if I didn't have a brand, I probably wouldn't be as into social media as I am, right? Like, because I think I would have stepped back from it a while ago, right? When it stops being as fun as it should be, right?
Yeah, because for me, like I don't have a brand. I like follow people, but then like I'm on seeing what all my other people do and whatnot. But so that's the pro that I get out of it. It's like, oh, he's doing well, I fuck with him or whatever. And,
yeah, it's good to check up on your people.
Yeah,
it's especially for me because I'm terrible with like communication, like texting and calling people. Like I'll forget to call somebody for like a couple weeks, and then I'll be like, oh shit, I was supposed to call that person, right? Like, but and maybe that's because I can go on social media and see what that person's doing, right? Like I don't need to call you to check up on you. I just saw that you took a nice vacation with your lady.
Yeah.
You're doing good, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good pro, man. Because like this is like no bullshit. The first time we've ever spoken to each other.
Right.
And then like the first time I was introduced to you was at my first ever show, the Emerald Cup in 2017, where I bought some Gunsmith merch.
Back in
the day, yeah. So I've been fucking with you since 17, and there was a couple times we were in the same place, like the 2018, but I ran into Rob and Mrs. Rob. I didn't get to run into you, but I don't know this.
Yeah, I mean
Go ahead.
The Arnold's fun, man. The Arnold's just crazy, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's no service in the Arnold. Like you can't. You're on your own, man. If you get lost from somebody or you're trying to meet up with somebody, it's impossible.
Yeah, I saw Rob in the lobby with his wife, and I was like, "Hey, where's Mooney at?" And he's like, "Oh, he's inside somewhere. I don't know where he is." And I was like, "Oh shit, all right."
Yeah.
So like with social media, especially in like the fitness industry, everybody seems like they're thriving to be a sponsored athlete, and you were a sponsored athlete under Martin Ford's brand. So like what advice would you give somebody who's aspiring to be a sponsored athlete or trying to follow that route?
I mean, that's like a super common one. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's like a daily.
Yes, sir.
I feel like daily I have a conversation with somebody, like whether it's on social media or in real life, about that. It's a tough one because, you know, everyone's a sponsored athlete nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone's an ambassador for
Yeah.
something, and I think it's become. I don't want to say this for everyone, but I think for a lot of people, it's more of just a status symbol, right?
Mhm.
Like they want to be able to put that in their bio, like I'm a sponsored athlete.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't necessarily care what brand it is that sponsors them, right? Like they just want a sponsorship. They want to be able to say, I have a sponsorship. And because I remember when I was first starting out in like the fitness community, I wanted a sponsorship. And I was at that same point where I was like, I don't really care what brand. If a brand offers me a sponsorship and their products aren't terrible, I'm in, man. Like, sign me the fuck up. You're going to send me a free package every month? Hell yeah. You know, you're going to pay me to take photos on Instagram? Hell yeah. Like, let's do it. But then it's like same thing, you know, that's that maturity that you develop and you start realizing, you know, just, I don't know, you start valuing yourself a little bit more, right? Like it shouldn't, your word at the end of the day, like your word and your, you know, what you're about, that's the most important thing, right? Like, and if you're just with a company, you know, that's bullshit and you're just telling people to buy it and, you know, like they buy it maybe because they're a fan of yours or they follow you and they check it out and that shit, and it sucks, right? Like it's a shitty product.
Underdose and all that.
Yeah, or you know, it's a terrible T-shirt. Maybe it rips, or maybe you know the customer service by that brand is terrible, right? Like they buy something and it doesn't come for like a month. Like that reflects on you, right? That reflects on you, whether or not you want to believe that. That reflects on you because you influence them to buy that. You influence them to make a decision to spend their hard-earned money on something, and it sucked. And now they're going to look at you a little weird, right? Like they're going to second guess the next time you promote something. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize is like, you don't want to be just with any company. You don't want just a sponsorship. You want to be with a company or a brand that has a message and a product line or like a service line that you can get behind, something that you believe in, right? And once you find a company like that you enjoy, that you believe in the product, you believe in the message, maybe you've talked to the owner or a couple people that work there, then you can talk, then start thinking about a sponsorship. But don't just be like, hey, don't just reach out to every single company and be like, hey, I want a sponsorship. You know, because not every company is going to offer something that maybe you believe in. And once you get in with a company, like that's you're giving part of yourself away, right? And then on the flip side of that, right, like a sponsorship is not just like free shit. Like there's nothing free in this life. Everyone thinks free means free, right? Like there's nothing attached to it. Like, hey, you can send me that hoodie, right? Like I'll promote it on my page. It's free. Well, it's free for you, but me, I had to pay maybe like, you know, $25-$30 to create that hoodie. And then I have to spend money on shipping it to you. And then, you know, like, so it's not free. So I think people get this misconception with sponsorships that it's like, hey, they're just going to send me free shit. No, it's a relationship. It's not a one way, like, here, I'm going to give you all this shit. Like, do whatever you want with it. I mean, I'm sure there are some companies out there where that's the case. Like if you're The Rock or something, right? For real. Like people are just going to send you shit because they want to send you shit. But even then, they're hoping that maybe you wear it and somebody sees it. And like,
marketing. That's all it is.
So it's marketing. It's a marketing budget, right? So you have to bring something to the company. So like I always tell people, if you want to get a sponsorship, you have to figure out, obviously find a good company, right? Find something that you believe in. something that you've actually purchased something from in the past, right? Like, don't pick a company where you've never even tried any of their products, but pick something where you've tried their product, you like their message and whatever, and then develop like a pitch. You have to sell yourself to this company. Like, what do you have to offer this company? Like, what are they going to get in return from working with you, right? Like, do you offer good content that you can provide for them so that they can, market it that way? Do you, do you have a large following? Do you have a lot of, maybe you don't have a large following, but you have a large, maybe you're a personal trainer, you got a large client base, right? Like, maybe you don't have a large following, but you have a lot of people that you interact with on a daily basis. Maybe you have, expertise in the specific field, but it has to be something besides, like, hey, I look good and I take photos every other, day. Sponsor me, right? Like, no, you have to bring something to the company, right? You have to provide some content for them. You have to, provide something that they can use to continue to expand their brand, right? It's not just about, giving you shit. You have to do something for them. So, figure out your voice, your brand, your message, and then figure out a way that you can incorporate that into this other company and help them expand their shit.
Hell
right?
yeah.
You have to, it's a relationship, right? Like, it has to go both ways. So that's why I always tell people is like, don't just reach out and be like, send them a message like, hey, sponsor me, right? No, create like a little list. Be like, hey, this is, hey, I'm Rob, and, I, am in the military. This is, my following. This is what I can bring to you guys, right? Like, I have a podcast, this many people listen to it. Like, I can talk about it on that. Then I also have a YouTube channel, and this is what I can do on that. And, here's an example of some photos that I put and some content that I create. I would love to incorporate your guys' brand into that somehow and create content that would benefit both of us, right? And that's the type of thing that somebody, because especially with Gunsmith was like when Rob and I were running Gunsmith, we would get like 5-6 messages a day each, right? Like, on our social media, like, hey, I want a sponsorship. And half the time it was literally just one sentence. It was like, hey, I would like a sponsorship. And it's like, I see that and I'm like, fuck no. And I just delete it. Like, I don't even care. Like, first off, that's not how you fucking talk to somebody. Like, I'm a person, right? You got to be like, hey, how's it going? My name's so-and-so. Introduce yourself. I don't know who the fuck you are. So it's like, that's how you differentiate yourself.
Hell yeah, man. So everybody listening, that's how you fucking work on getting the sponsorship. It's not just a post a booty pic and then fucking with the supplement in the picture type shit.
Yeah, because honestly, let's be real, especially on Instagram, you can see it. There's hundreds of thousands of girls with maybe a nicer booty than you, right? Like, they could take a booty pic too. Like, well, how are you different? How are you going to differentiate yourself from the crowd?
Nice, man. That's some good advice, man. I love it. I appreciate that, James.
Yeah, man. And another thing, don't be in such a rush to get a sponsorship, because it looks weird if you are constantly switching companies that you're with, right? Like, if you rush out and get a sponsorship and you're like, hey, I want to be with this company, and you get a sponsorship with them, and then, like a month later, you're like, you know what? I want a different sponsorship. Like, I like this company more, right? Like, and you're constantly hopping from sponsor to sponsor. It looks bad, right? It looks.
But being on the other side of it, like being a sponsored athlete, like a legit sponsored athlete, what was that perspective like?
I mean, it's fun, dude. It's fun. It's fun to, but I mean, so I was with 5%, right, back in the day, and then I was with Martin's company, and I've been with a couple other companies too, like some not supplement brands, but and I mean, it's got its ups and its downs, but it's like, it's kind of what I was talking about, right? Like, you have to align with the mission statement of the brand, right? Like, it's not just about, hey, this is my sponsor, so I support everything they're about, right? Like, I was with 5% for a long time, and it was awesome because Rich was great. It was when Rich was around, and Rich was an awesome guy, and we'd go to the expos and be a lot of fun. and like hanging out. Like we'd all go to breakfast before the expo, and like it was a cool little family atmosphere. And then, you know, towards the end there, it started becoming more of like not as much of a family, more like elitism, right? So it wasn't, you know, as welcoming of a crowd, right? Like some new people came in, some people left, right? Like, so it stopped being as much fun, and then you stop resonating with the brand as much, right? Like, and so then that's when you have to know, like, hey, this is not like I could continue doing this and continue getting a paycheck, continue getting some free shit, but it's not worth it, right? Like, because you have to, you know, you have to have your own set of values and what you believe in. And if something stops aligning with that, you have to be mature enough to be like, you know what, I need to move on from this. And with Martin's a great dude. I've known Martin for years. And when he asked me to be a part of his company, I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, you know, he called me. We had a long talk about, you know, the where he saw the brand going. And I was like, hell yes, dude. Like, that's awesome. And at the time, I was still in the process of trying to get Blasthouse going. And I told him that. I was like, hey, man, I'm also still working on my own brand, but, you know, it's going to be a ways off. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, man. You know, like, I want you to be a part of this. So I went into that knowing that, you know, there was a expiration date on it, right? Like, I went in there knowing, like, hey, I love Martin as he's a great dude. I believe in what he's putting out there, you know, and I want to support it for as long as I can. And then, you know, when it got to the point where I was starting to get closer to launching Blasthouse, I was like, hey, man, you know, things are starting to kick off a little bit. I'm starting getting ready. So I wanted to distance myself far enough in advance that people wouldn't think I was just jumping ship, you know? Right. So, but yeah, like, and I'm glad I got out when I did, because, you know, he sold his stake in the company not too long after I left. So
I was wondering about that.
If I'd stayed
I
on,
haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, they kind of fell off. I don't know exactly what happened with that. I know he moved on, and now he's with Redcon. I think I don't want to speculate, but I'm sure there was, you know, maybe he didn't agree with, you know, where things were headed or whatnot, you know, and decided to. Plus, it's a ton of work, you know. He's a busy fucking dude, you know. He's acting. He's got his businesses that he's got like a dozen businesses that he runs on the side. So it's like running a supplement company and being the face of the supplement company while still trying to do all this other stuff. You know, it's probably a little too much. So better to be a sponsored athlete for a big company, and, you know, as opposed to trying to do everything for your own. So.
Shit, with that being said, Blasthouse is fucking a big ass success. You know, congratulations on that shit. I fuck with the products. That mint chocolate protein is fucking delicious.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I mean, it's going all right. You know, the COVID thing kind of fucked me in the ass on the launch. Literally launched. I think we launched on a Wednesday, on like March 12th, and I think on March 17th everything nationwide shut down. So every gym in America shut down. So it's like, nobody's going to buy supplements because they're not going to the fucking gym. Most people don't have, you know, stuff to work out at home with. So that kind of destroyed the expo scene as well. You know, I had a bunch of events I was planning on going to, try to, you know, expand the brand awareness through that. But that kind of sucked. But, you know, it's doing well. Like we're not where I was projecting initially. Because of all the things that have happened, but you know, we're still kicking, and I think 2021 will hopefully be a little bit better. You know, hopefully things start going a little bit more back to normal, and we can actually start, you know, living our lives again.
But shit, fucking, at least Blasthouse was able to blast off during fucking COVID, you know?
Right.
So it's still above water, you know, and doing very well.
Yeah. Doing good. And it's one of those things too. It's like, you know, I had, you know, high hopes and high projections of where I wanted the brand to go when we were launching. But at the end of the day, you know, it's still a small business, and it's still, you know, the old adage that like, you have to stick with this for like 4 to 5 years before you even start,
Yeah.
it's a long game,
Right.
it's not necessarily an overnight success. I mean, if I had a massive, name or whatever, maybe it would be an overnight success, but that's not realistic to think about, right? Like you gotta look at it how the average person would look at it. And, 4 to 5 years is like a time frame. It's just, you got to stick through there, keep your head above water, and it'll catch on.
And I already know you're going to fucking do well. You already had,
I appreciate
you had
that,
fucking Gunsmith, which I fucking love. I still wear them shirts to this day. My favorite shirts, man. Favorite fucking shirts.
Dude, it's amazing how many people still
Hell
wear
yeah,
that.
I love that shit. So you started the clothing.
It's cool to see.
You started the clothing brand. Now you got a supplement brand. And like, so what advice would you give people trying to start their business?
So let's see. I mean, there's a bunch of advice you can give somebody, but I think one of the biggest things, and Rob actually was pretty influential in this, because when we started Gunsmith, the idea behind it was, there's no fitness brands out there. There's very few fitness brands out there that have a message behind them, right? Like a lot of it was just super cheesy, like, rise and grind type shit, right? There's nothing with like a message that resonates with people. And I think, and so Rob was pretty, adamant that we need to create a brand that has a message behind it, right? Because there's a million brands out there, but people have options of what they want to choose, but they're going to choose something that that resonates with them, or that they can get behind. And so having a good message was huge. And so having that, build yourself into the ultimate weapon, having that idea of, no matter what you're doing, be the best at it, right? Be the best version of yourself. That resonates with a lot of people, and it still does. And so that was a huge reason why Gunsmith was as successful as it was. And so I would say the advice for somebody trying to start their own business is find that message, right? Like, why are you starting this business? Why do you want to start your t-shirt brand, or why do you want to start your supplement brand? Because, if you're just starting it because you're like, hey, that looks cool, I want to do that, and I'll get rich off of that. Like, you're not going to get rich, because nobody's gonna fuck with that. It's not authentic, right? It comes back to the same thing. It's the same theme, like authenticity over everything. And so find out why do you want to start your business, right? If it's not something you're passionate about and you don't have a good reason, you better fucking find one, because you're not going to be successful, right? Like you might as well just go back to your 9 to 5 and just continue to do that, because you're going to waste a lot of fucking time, a lot of money, and you're not going to succeed just because there's too much competition. Out there. There's too much. There's too many other brands that are big that have no fucking message behind them that people are already invested in, right? Like they're not gonna go to your brand and be like, oh, I'll check that out, So that's the big one is find out why are you doing it, right? Like have a good why, and then after that it's just execution, man. I feel like everyone talks a big game, but when it comes down to it, like very few people actually act.
There it is.
Right? Yeah. So if you have an idea and you have something you're passionate about, stop fucking talking about it, right? Like go do it. It's not that difficult. Nowadays, it's easier than ever to start your own business. It's hard to be successful, but it's easy to start your own business. Like you can go on, Shopify or fucking Big Cartel or one of those other Wix. You could start a website tomorrow, for free pretty much. And then, you can go find some local screen printer and print out like a dozen t-shirts and start selling that shit. You don't even have to print the shirts nowadays. They have print to go shirts, right? Like you can contract out to some company that will print that you don't even have to hold inventory for, right? It's like, so it's easy as shit to start any business you want, right? But for some reason it's become easier, but still people sit on their fucking thumb. Yeah.
So which one do you prefer, a clothing brand or sub brand?
Honestly, dude, look, the supplement brand is super rewarding, but clothing brand was a million times
Really?
easier to run. Yeah, dude. I think I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Like somebody slid my DM on one of the platforms and was like, "Hey, dude, like I want to start my own supplement brand." I was like, "It's like I can appreciate that." He's like, "Where should I start?" Right? Like, it's not fucking easy. It's like, hey, I'm gonna just create my own pre-workout, right? Like there's so much shit that you don't even think about, right? Like there's the testing, there's the the manufacturing process, the creating labels, creating fucking packaging. It's like there's so much extra shit that goes into it, and then you don't even think about like certain websites don't allow you to sell supplements. Certain payment processors don't allow you to sell supplements. So there's insurance that you need, right? Like if somebody took your product and fucking died, you don't want to get sued for that, right? Like, there's so much shit that you don't even think about. And I was like, thinking when we were doing Gunsmith, we were talking about doing like a pre-workout, right? We were in the process of doing it. That's kind of what I ended up transforming into Blasthouse. But basically, like we were talking about doing it, and looking back on it, I didn't know shit about what I was talking about. And like, I thought it was going to be some super simple process, and no, it takes forever.
Yeah, it seems like it.
And unless you're a big, like huge company, I just experienced this, right? Like, because we're not huge, right? Like our orders are fairly small in the grand scheme of things. Like if you were to compare us to like Redcon, we're like fucking nobody, right? Like we're probably ordering like 1% of what they order on a yearly basis, right? But manufacturers don't really care about that. Like, there's only so many manufacturers in the country that will manufacture for you, and if you're not a big company, you kind of fall to the bottom of the barrel, right? Like, so for example, right? Like I have Black Friday's like next week, right? So I've been developing this product line to release on Black Friday, and we've been working on it since August, and I was like assured it would be ready by Black Friday. Everything will be good by Black Friday. And now I'm being told that, we had a lot more orders for Black Friday than we were expecting. So now it's going to take us a little bit longer to get you your stuff. And I'm like, well, basically what that means is, hey, a lot of our bigger consumers decided to place bigger orders. And so we kind of pushed you to the back of the line kind of thing. So it's like, there's a lot of things that you don't even think about, right? Like taste,
dosage,
like something that you think some dosage, right? Like something that you think tastes good doesn't necessarily, Joe Schmo doesn't think necessarily tastes good, right? Like there's just so much more like taste and supplements, like what people put in their body is people are way more picky about as opposed to like a type of t-shirt they'll wear. So it's a much more narrow market, right? Like, but it's finding ways to continue to expand and, make everyone happy while still putting out a good product.
Hell yeah. Kind of I had a dude who worked for me in the military. He got out. He just launched his sup brand. And I have a buddy who worked like in close unison with Doug Miller. So he knows like the insides of the sup game. So I sent him a picture of the aforementioned dude's supplement brand's dosages on his pre-workout, and my buddy was like, man, that shit is underdosed like crazy. So I was like,
and you know why that is, right? So it's way cheaper. So no offense to your buddy that launched a supplement brand, but if you're trying to create margins, dosing something out the way it's clinically supposed to be dosed out is not super beneficial to creating margins.
Damn, that's crazy. Something people don't think about, man.
No, right? Like everyone's like, why doesn't this have, why does this have so much caffeine and like not as like 1 gram of citrulline, right? Like the clinical dosage of citrulline is like you need like 6 grams of that a day for it to be effective, right? Like the clinical dosage of that. And so like you'll be like, well, every product should have 6 grams of citrulline then, right? No, most products have like 2 grams of citrulline. And the reason is citrulline's not cheap, right? It's not as cheap as, caffeine. Caffeine's super cheap. You can put as much caffeine as you want into a product. It's super, super like cheap. It won't won't raise the price of that product too much. But you throw 6 grams of citrulline in, you know, maybe you're adding $1 to your product.
Dang, okay.
Right? So I don't know if it's
No,
$1
yeah,
exactly, but I'm just throwing it out. Yeah. So it's like, hey, I could make $1 more and put 2 grams of citrulline, and you know, maybe I'll jack up the caffeine by like 100 milligrams to compensate, right? So
damn, it's a science.
it's wild. It's a science. And then the big thing is, like, you'll see like these companies and they'll sell something super fucking cheap, right? Like they'll sell something online and it's like, I don't know. I've seen it a couple times. I'm not going to say the names of the companies, but I've seen it a couple times where I've seen a product and they'll say what their dosage is, right? And then I'll see how much they're selling it for. I'm like, there's no fucking way that they're selling that for that, because they're not making any money, right? If they, you know, maybe it's like a $25 pre-workout, right? There's no way they're selling it for that unless they're ordering like 10,000 units. And I've seen this company, they're not they're not ordering 10,000 units, right?
They're lying on the labels.
They're lying on the label, right? Or maybe they're pixie dusting, you know, like throwing in a little bit of something and they're saying, oh, that we have this much in there. Like, you never know nowadays. And I think that's a huge part of that is there's no regulation, right? Like there's no one checking on it. So, I mean, it's kind of nice that there's no regulation because you don't have to pay all this extra fees to the government and whatnot. But at a certain point, it would help a lot, right? It would help a lot because I think a lot of people are uneducated about supplements and like what certain ingredients do and what certain ingredients don't do, and you know, dosages. It's the Wild West, and it still kind of is.
Fuck yeah, because
it used to be way worse, like back when we were younger.
Oh yeah,
right? Like in the early 2000s. Like I remember I would go to GNC and a lot of the products I was buying back then, you can't even buy anymore.
I know. I believe that too, man. Because you go in there, it's like Muscle Tech, everything. There's NO2, this, and it's like, all right. No.
I remember back when I was in high school, like my senior year, we were going into the GNC right across from the high school, right? And I was playing football, and we would go in there every game day, and we'd buy this drink. I forget what the name of it was, but it was like a pre-mixed, like ready-to-drink pre-workout kind of thing. And you needed to show your ID to buy it, right? Because you had to be 18 to buy it. Which already is a red flag, right? Like you have to show an ID to buy this pre-workout. And we would take it, and like I think the next year maybe you couldn't even buy it because it had ephedra in it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just loaded with ephedra, and so that became illegal, and so you couldn't even buy that anymore. But I remember we were buying that by the caseload, right? Like everyone was taking that shit. Like, and little did we know that shit's not good for you at all.
Crazy. What position did you play in football?
Oh, I was a defensive end, and then in college I played linebacker.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, this motherfucker was a college football player, man. No bullshit.
Yeah. That's about as far as I got.
All good, though.
No NFL, man. I was too slow.
Hey, man, it's all good.
Too slow.
I mean, you took the path you were supposed to take, man. So
right. It's like we were talking about, right? Like that maturity, right? Like you make some stupid ass decisions, but at the end of the day, it leads you to, you know, where you're supposed to be, right? Like you wouldn't be, you know, where you're at without those dumb decisions.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. You know, that led you to do the hybrid tour and all that shit. For those of you who don't know, the hybrid tour, James did an abundance of events in 1 year, from fucking a bodybuilding show to a powerlifting show to, what was that, a Tough Mudder? What was that? The other shit you did?
I did a half marathon Spartan race up in the mountains. I did a full marathon, strongman comp, CrossFit comp, a bodybuilding show, and a power.
All in 1 year.
I think that's 9 months.
Fucking savage.
9 months. Yeah, it was actually a lot of fun, and the reason I did that, and believe me, it's not as it's I downplayed a little bit because it's not like I was doing this at like a national level, right? Like I wasn't like competing against the best fucking people, but it was just more of a goal of I want to do this. Like I want to set a goal, and that's huge. Like I don't think like I had reached a point in my life where training had not become fun anymore, right? Like I wasn't enjoying. I was just a routine. It was just part of like the day to day,
monotonous.
And so I was just going into the gym, and Monday was chest day, and fucking Tuesday was back, right? Like I was just going through the fucking motions, and I didn't enjoy it. And I also at the same time was not taking care of myself. Like I was eating like an asshole. I was, I was getting a little fat and a little puffy, and I was just not in a good mental place, right? Like I was just kind of, whatever.
Yeah.
And I needed something to kind of get me on track, right? Like I needed a goal, something, because I see this with a lot of people, right? Like they work out like whatever, right? Like they're in there, but they're not necessarily working hard.
They're just going through the motion.
They're going through the motions. And then I'll talk to them, and they'll be like, yeah, if I had something to train for, then I'll be consistent, right? Like I'll be consistent with my diet. I'll do this. It's like, well, you need to find something to train for then, right? Like you need to set that goal, right? You need to have, whether that's actually you competing or not, you need to have some goal, because I'd gotten to the point where I was just working out and there was no goal, right? Like it was just, hey, I want to, get a pump today or something. And it was because of that, it just didn't become enjoyable. And so I had to find a reason to motivate myself and kind of energize myself again and appreciate training and start going in with a purpose.
Hell yeah.
And that was the main reason for it. That plus I think, and this kind of ties into Blasthouse a little bit too, is we've reached this point where, like, especially in the fitness community, there's such a disconnect, right? Like there's so many stigmas. Like you're either a bodybuilder or you're a power lifter or you're like a gym bro or
CrossFitter,
or you're the you're the CrossFitter or you're the cardio bunny. Like, and there's no crossover, right? Like, and even at times there's animosity towards another group, right? Like, oh, he's just another CrossFitter, right? Like, right? Like, fuck that guy. He's just another CrossFitter. Like, he's gonna do some kipping butterfly,
which is
pull-ups.
stupid
like,
to me though.
Right?
Like CrossFitting is hard as fuck.
Oh, it is, right? They're all of those disciplines are hard as fuck in their own respect, right? Like going on the treadmill and being able to run on like Chrissy will go and do cardio for like 45 minutes. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I'd rather gouge my eyes out, right? That's hard. That's hard to me, right? Or, training for a powerlifting meet, like that's hard. Right. Doing a bodybuilding show and dieting, like they're all hard in their own respects. And I think we've reached this point where it's like it's not everyone obviously, but there's a large majority that views something else that's different as like, that's not as good, right? Like you're not doing something optimal. And for some reason in the fitness community, it's more prevalent than others. Like, oh, you don't do keto, you don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, or you don't do carnivore, or I'm a vegan, or like it's all over the fucking place, and it's judging other people that aren't doing the same thing as you, right? When in the end, I don't care what you do, as long as you're working fucking hard, right? Like the only currency that matters to me is sweat equity, right? Like if you're working fucking hard, I respect it. It doesn't matter what you're doing, right? You could be training for fucking a bowling competition for all I fucking care, right? Like you're in there doing like, some weird kettlebell workout. Like, hey, I'm getting ready for my bowling competition next. It's like, fuck dude. On. Keep working hard, man. But and that's kind of the same thing. Like, like in the same aspects, some people are scared to try other aspects of fitness because it's so different, right? Like, oh, I'm scared to do a CrossFit workout. You see the intensity, or you see what those guys are doing. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's scary. Those double unders, fuck no. Or, I could never step on stage. I could never do a bodybuilding show. Like, there's these self-imposed restrictions. Like, we hold ourselves back because we get so scared of trying something different because we might suck at it, right?
Yeah, scared of that failure.
So that's kind of why I chose to do all the different things, because I was like, you know what? I need to get outside of my comfort zone. I need to have some reason to train, but I also want to get outside my comfort zone because that's where you grow the most, right? Like you don't grow doing the same shit every day. You have to do something different. And so I suck at running. I suck at distance running. I've never run more than like three miles at one time.
Yep.
And so like the idea of doing a marathon scared the fuck out of me. I was like, God, no, I'll die. Especially like 250 pounds. Like there's no way.
Yeah.
So that was why I picked a marathon. And I was like, CrossFit, I kind of do some CrossFit aspects, but I've never actually done like legit CrossFit workouts for like an extended period of time. So like I'll do that too. Why not? An obstacle race, that looks like fun. I'll probably die because it's 13 miles, but whatever, right? So it's finding these things that are different. And plus people look at me and they're like, you're 250 pounds. There's no way you could do CrossFit, and there's no way you could do a marathon. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it all.
Hell yeah.
I'll prove you wrong, right? Like I'll prove you that I can do that. Like I might not be the best at it, right? My time might be fucking terrible, but I'll fucking finish.
My man.
So I think that was the main reason behind that. And that's kind of also what ties into Blasthouse, right? Like Blasthouse is not just for bodybuilders. It's not just for powerlifters. It's for people that want to perform well.
Hell yeah.
Right. And that are willing to work hard. Like if you're willing to work hard, you're cool in my book.
Hell yeah.
So
is there a hybrid tour coming? Hybrid tour 2?
I don't know, man. You got to ask fucking the governor of Oregon if that's the case, right?
Shit, how are you doing with that shutdown stuff, man? I know you guys recently shut down.
I'm fucking pissed.
I seen your posts. I was like, oh, James is mad.
I'm mad as fuck, man. Kate Brown could suck my dick. That's not politically correct, but I don't give a shit.
Opinion, fuck it.
Yeah, because I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday she shut everything down. So basically, gyms are closed in Oregon. I think it's only takeout food now, and they closed. I think they canceled high school sports that are going on right now. I think. Yeah, there's a bunch of restrictions, but they don't make any sense, man. Like, I don't know. You can't justify. So the gym I go to, right, is a small gym. My buddy Justin. Yeah, my buddy Justin.
Yeah, Duo. Shout out Duo.
Yeah, shout out to Duo. If you're in Southern Oregon, come check it out after the shutdown, obviously. But yeah, it's like a small gym, right? Like maybe I want to say it's like 10,000 square feet, maybe, if you factor in the entire building. So on like a busy time, there's maybe 20 people in there, right? But so you're going to tell me that that's more dangerous than Walmart, which is like a Walmart supercenter. So it's like a massive fucking Walmart. Right. And I think they limited that to 75% capacity,
which is still a shit ton of people.
It's still like 300 fucking people out at a busy time. So it's like, that's less dangerous than me going to a gym with a bunch of in shape, healthy people. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, the logic behind a lot of this shit doesn't make a lot of sense, man.
Yeah, it's a bummer because, I know Justin personally, right? And luckily he's a smart businessman. So, but he's still losing a shitload of money by having that, like the first lockdown, he was telling me all these people that canceled memberships, right? Like, so he's losing that monthly revenue. Yep. It's like, that's a shame because like Justin will be able to weather this storm because he's a good businessman, but there's a lot of other businesses that aren't going to weather that. And it's already happening around here. Like businesses going out of business, like some restaurants and stuff. And it's like, man,
what do you think
there has to be a better way?
Yeah. What do you think is a better solution for the shutdowns?
I mean, it's going to be, I might get some shit for it, but I feel like if you are in danger, right? Like it needs to be up to the people. It needs to be up to an individual. Like we have to be trusted to maintain our own health and safety, right? And somebody was talking about that the other day. They were saying, it's not the government's responsibility to maintain our health, right? And it's our government's responsibility to maintain our freedom.
Nice.
And I think it has to fall down to the individual responsibility. Like if you are in a category where you're susceptible, right? Like you're in that one of those dangerous categories, like you have a pre-existing condition or you're old or whatever, you have to be extra cautious, right? Like you have to, that's up to you, right? At the end of the day, if you have a pre-existing condition, you still want to go out, right?
Yep.
But that falls on you, right? It's your responsibility to quarantine yourself. We got Amazon, we got Grubhub, we got, Uber Eats. Like you don't have to leave your house nowadays.
Right.
You got Netflix, you're good, right? Like and that's your responsibility. And if you're healthy, that's your response, and you still want to quarantine, that's on you. But if you're healthy and you don't feel like quarantining and you're willing to, and you don't interact with, people that are in danger or at risk, then go do your thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he lives in Virginia, and he's going home. And he's like, yeah, I'm going home and we're going to have Thanksgiving, but I'm not going to go see my folks because my folks are older and I don't want to put them at risk. Right. So like he's living his life, but he's making a small adjustment, right? Like he's not putting those that are at risk. He's avoiding contact with them. And that's just how it should be. Right?
Yeah.
Like
it should. I agree.
If you I don't know, it needs to fall on you. It can't be somebody else telling you, because quarantining healthy people makes no fucking sense to me.
Exactly.
Right. And I understand there's a lot of asymptomatic people out there, but I don't know.
I mean, it's like the flu though. Like everyone gets the flu, people die from the flu. Healthy people get it, and then once they get it, they get rid of it. I mean,
and some healthy people die from the flu
exactly.
too, right?
Yep, exactly.
It's just, I was having this discussion with somebody the other day also, and we were talking about the COVID thing, and it's like we've reached this point, and it sounds cold. It's going to sound super cold, but we've reached this point where death has become unacceptable as a culture, right? Like death is not an acceptable thing. But at the end of the day, death happens people die every single day from all sorts of reasons, from something as stupid as stepping in front of a bus to, dying of a disease or cancer, to getting murdered, to, suicide. There's deaths every single day. Yeah. That's never going to stop, no matter how much you pad the world, right? Yeah. You can pad every single fucking wall in every single building, but people are still going to die, And we've reached this point where it's like, it's not acceptable for people to die. We want people to live forever. Yeah. And it's just not realistic, right? Like we look at the COVID deaths, obviously there's been some healthy younger people that have died of it, right? It's few and far between, but there have been of those. But the majority of them are older people with pre-existing conditions that will die eventually, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds super cold to say.
No, but it's realistic. Though.
If it's not COVID, maybe it's diabetes
or pneumonia.
Or maybe it's heart disease, or pneumonia. So we can't continue to try to bubble wrap everything to keep everyone alive forever, right? Like we're taking advantage of the fact that like 60 years ago, the life expectancy was like if you reach 60, you were amazing, right? Like now people are living to 80 and they're in perfect health.
100.
Yeah, 100, and they're in better shape than like a 70-year-old, like in like 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, right? Like I saw some guy the other day, and he's 82, and he looked like he was in his 60s. Like I was like, there's no way you're 80, right? Like he's in such good shape, and it's like, when did it become unacceptable to age and to die, right? Like I understand, like there are people out there scared of death, and they don't like the idea of that, but
it's inevitable.
It's part of life. It's part of life, right? We're dying every day. Once you're born, you start dying.
Yeah, it's true.
And so it's like, I don't know. It's sad because you see these people and they've worked their asses off to create these businesses, and the government's just shutting them down. Yeah, like no remorse.
Yeah, and then
you see, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, and then you see like some of these governors, and they're just doing their own fucking thing. They don't care. They're not following the restrictions.
That's our governor in Texas.
Is he?
Oh yeah, people are out here like, when is he going to say something? He hasn't said anything since he made it 75% capacity. What the fuck? Schools are fucking positive cases every day. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So
you guys aren't locked down though, are you?
nah. So the talk is that it's going to happen. However, I don't think we're going to, because my wife works for like a school district, and they follow every school district within Dallas to Fort Worth, and they have no plans on shutting down. Like there's cases popping every day, which is cool. You know, I mean, it's cool. Just whatever.
So he's getting the opposite pressure. He's getting pressure to shut down.
People are wanting him to shut down. That is what I'm getting, but he's like nowhere to be found. So he's just letting it ride.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's something to be said about that, because then you look at, like, on the other hand, like California's like fucking locked down, and their governor's out there having dinner, no masks, no social distancing,
parlaying,
just having a good old fucking time, and other people can't celebrate Thanksgiving because of his restrictions, right? So it's like, I don't know, I'm on the side of less government intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So like you guys have it, like it has to be on the people, right? Like you can't, at the end of the day, we're all human and we all have free will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your choice, you live with your choices,
right?
If you know, but if you're not even given a choice, like how can you begin to live, right?
True. And then we should take notes from like our allies, like the French. When they shut down, they paid 75% of wages to businesses they shut down. You know?
Yeah, I saw that. That's insane.
Yeah, like we can do that.
It's crazy. Man. Yeah, I mean, if we stop spending money on stupid shit,
for real, for real, man.
I don't know if you saw that, but I was reading, like, regardless of your stance on politics, but Trump was getting a lot of shit about the bill, the last stimulus bill that he didn't pass through, that like Pelosi and some of those they had put forward. I think it was called the Heroes Act or whatever. So they put that forward, and they're like, yeah, this is our stimulus bill, and Trump didn't approve it, right? And so Trump became the bad guy. But if you looked at that bill, like it's 86 pages, and I read through it, every single page, because I had some time, and there's some shit on there. It's like, what the fuck are we spending this money on? Like, why so one of them was like, there's $150 million, and it was going to the Capitol campus, and it was for masks, gloves, and cleaning supplies for a single fucking building.
Wow.
So you're gonna spend $150 million. Well, maybe it's bigger than a building, but it's like a block, right? Yeah. Like it's a block of buildings. You're going to spend $150 million on gloves and masks and cleaning supplies.
Crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, where's that money actually fucking going? Yeah. Right. So it's like, we spend all this money on stupid shit, and then we don't have money to help out some of these businesses. Like, there's a lot of businesses that didn't even get stimulus from the first stimulus package, right? Like, they didn't get money. I know of a couple guys that didn't get any money.
Damn.
And, because they just filed too late. And all that money got sucked up, given it to some of these bigger companies, and it's like
big business.
It's fucked up. Yeah, big businesses that didn't necessarily need the money in the first place.
Yeah, shit, man. Well, shit. Let's lighten up the fucking mood, man. What future? What can we expect from you and Blasthouse and whatever venture you got going on, man?
Well, hopefully we're gonna expand a little bit more. I got some plans, like some other products that we're going to try to release in 2021.
Okay.
Hopefully things are going to go back to somewhat normal, and we'll be able to actually go to some events. I think we're actually looking at FitCon is coming to Fort Worth.
Really?
We're doing an event out there in April, yeah. And so I think we're going to hit up that one. I was thinking about the Arnold, but who knows what's going to happen with the Arnold this year. They really fucked everybody last year, and it's, to an extent, it's not necessarily their fault, because obviously, the governor of Ohio did a lot of that, they really fucked everyone last year, and I don't really want to get behind that right now and then have them, turn around and shut down again this year, or be, so low capacity that it's not even worth going. Right. But yeah, hopefully there's some more events going on, and then some other plans, we're going to start trying to get our coffee brand going too. Gonna start releasing some coffee here, hopefully next year, midway through next year, and maybe even a bottled or canned energy drink.
Damn.
By the end of 2021. I think that is our goal, end of 2021.
Right on, man. Shit.
Following after like Christian Guzman.
Yeah. Him, fucking Ghost, and all them dudes.
I love Ghost.
Yeah, it's good.
I love their brand. I don't necessarily like their products a ton. I like the taste of their products. They got good flavors, but and I'm not throwing shade at them, but I just don't enjoy their products as much. But I like their marketing, and there's some good guys over there.
Yeah, the lifestyle brand shit.
The lifestyle, they've tapped into a market that's huge, right? And they're killing it. And they do put out some good products. I don't particularly like them, but I like their protein. I like their protein's good. I don't necessarily I've tried a few of their other ones. I don't necessarily. But that's just personal taste, right? Like everyone's, it's like I was saying, everyone's different, right?
Yeah, like the buddy who I said launched his sub company. He launched one of his pre-workouts was like a flavored candy, and he loved it. But then, like, I supported him, of course. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
and then
obviously,
I don't like that shit. That shit is so tart tasting. It's fucking nasty.
Yeah, see, that's funny because like we were getting ready. I was working on some samples for like a sour gummy, right?
Yeah.
And I got the sample back, and I was like, "Oh, this tastes good." And I gave it to a buddy of mine to try. And he's like, "It's not sour enough." I was like, "What?" He's like, "It needs to be way more sour." I was like, "But it tastes good to me." Like, it's just like you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
well, shit.
That was one of the funny things about we went to FitCon this year. Like that was the only in-person event we actually got to go to.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like the first time I got to have like random people just on the street just taste the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like 99% good, but then you'd get the guy every now and then was like, it tastes like I don't like it. Or like, and I'm like, damn, that hurt my soul. But at the same time, like I appreciate it, right? Like because everyone's different. Like,
hell yeah,
you can't. It keeps you humble, right? Like
fucking right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, shit, big
this
dog.
is cool though, man. I'm stoked that you got the podcast going, man.
Yeah,
like,
man. I appreciate it.
How do you like it so far?
Well, it's so much fun, man. It's so much fun. And it's just like my homie was my first guest, you know what I'm saying? And then you're my second. So just like actually asking people and if they would do it, it's kind of like, I want to take this risk. Like asking you, I was like nervous asking you. I was like, this fool ain't gonna do it, man. This fool's fucking Insta famous and shit, man.
Get out of here with that. No, man, I'm happy to do it. It's fun because like it's what I tell people. It's like even if it's not like I have my own podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like we haven't I haven't done it in a while just because I've been so busy. But it got to the point where it's like I don't even care if this is like I don't even care if somebody's listening to this, honestly, because I'm enjoying just sitting here talking to random people. Like it's fun.
It is.
Like it's I don't know. It's a good medium. I like it way more than like Instagram or Facebook.
Yep, same.
Or, because you don't get the nuance on like a Facebook post, right? Like you don't get you can only squeeze so much into like a paragraph.
Right.
Or a tweet, like a little 140 whatever, however long a tweet is nowadays.
I don't even know.
You only get so much nuance in there. So it's like this you actually get to expand on it.
Hell yeah. And you feel like you get to know that person. Like it's a lot more personal, their views, their points, their opinions. So yeah, I enjoy it, man. Yeah. When you guys gonna do the new Not for the Weeks, man?
Yeah, I've been slacking off on that a lot. It's kind of the same thing though, like right? Like I'm asking people to jump on it, and it's like nowadays everyone has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like man, I don't want to do another podcast.
Yeah.
But I'll get it going eventually. It's
hey man, that shit's entertaining. I used to listen on the way to work, and when you would say some shit, I would react to whatever you're saying. I was like, James, it's this. Like you would say something like, it's this.
You feel like you're part of the conversation.
Yeah.
You're like, God, Yeah, I find myself doing that sometimes too when I'm listening to some podcast. I'm like, man, like I'm screaming at the thing, like they're like trying to think of what the name of something is. I'm like, it's this.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man.
But
Before,
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Dad.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. This was fun. I feel like I talked way too much though. Like I feel like
no, that was the whole point. Like you're successful, a successful entrepreneur. I know a lot of people who are like aspiring to be entrepreneurs and would like advice from somebody who's been successful. So that was the whole point of having you on, so you can spread that knowledge that you have and help them out. You know what I mean?
Right on. Well, I hope it helps somebody then.
Oh, it will, man. It will. Any shout outs you want to give out, man?
Nah, man. Just, if you're into, you want to follow this journey a little bit more, it's just James Mooney GC on literally all platforms. Just type that in. And Blasthouse Industries.
There it is.
It's just Blasthouse IND on all social media.
I got to order that orange sherbet one because I forgot who posted it. You reposted her post. She mixed it with Sunny Delight. And I was like, holy shit, I never even thought of that.
Yeah, that's a game changer. We actually, I'll let you know before I post it, but we're actually going to do a restock of that real soon. Like in the next couple days, I'll let you know.
Oh, hell yeah, my man. My man. But, well, my man, I've had you on here fucking damn near an hour or some change, man. I'll let you get back to your busy life, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Where can people listen to this? Or I guess we'll log off first.
No, they can listen to it everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts,
cool.
Amazon Music, everywhere, man.
Well, when you drop it, you let me know and I'll blast it out there.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man.
For sure.
Hey, man, good luck to you and Blasthouse and every venture you have, and you already know I'm following you, bro. So
I appreciate it, man. We got to link up one of these days when I make it out to Texas.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Get a little lift in or something.
Hey, man, I don't know if I want to lift with you, bro. To be honest.
Then we'll get some food then.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Food and a beer.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, brother.
All right,
man.
Thank you again.
There you have it, folks. Episode number 5 in the books, man. That was my one-on-one with Blasthouse Industries CEO, founder, James Mooney. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. James gave a shit ton of advice in regards to starting your own brand, the supplement industry, just a bunch of stuff, man. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the information that was put out, because it was some vital ass information for your everyday life, man. YeahDat. Also, you can hear this podcast. You can listen to it on it's available on every platform. So if you've listened to it, please make sure you spread it and you tell your peoples to listen to it too, man. On all platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, we're everywhere, man. YeahDat. So if you enjoyed the episode, please make sure you like it, rate it, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, so I can get the feedback on types of episodes you like and you guys enjoy, man. So please make sure you do the aforementioned things. Please make sure you spread it. You know what I'm saying? Let's get the word out. YeahDat. Make sure you follow me at Westcoast _ Rob on IG, Twitter. Also make sure you follow James Mooney at James Mooney GC on all major platforms, and also Blasthouse Industries at Blasthouse IND on all major platforms, man. But that was episode 5, man. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know, and stay tuned for future episodes, man. YeahDat. For those of you here in America, man, we got a holiday coming up. Please have a safe holiday and enjoy it, man. Excuse me. Times have been hard this year, so it's coming down to the holiday times, holiday periods for us, where we are going to spend them with family if we can. And if you can't, man, you know what I'm saying? Do it virtually. Do something, man. But just don't be cooped up in the crib by yourself. Don't be down, man. There's no reason to be down and lonely during the holiday season, man. There's always somebody there for you. All you gotta do is reach out, man. So with that being said, man, it's the homie Westcoast Rob signing off, episode number 5. Thank you guys for listening, and until the next episode, yeah, that.